Welcome to Ease Your Habits Live, your 8 a.m. Central Business live stream. I'm Alec from Ease Your Habits, a business growth consultant.
And I am Meg. I am a global English communication coach.
All right, so today we'll be talking about our journey to 100 subs in YouTube and what we learned. We do have some subscribers who have more subs, but we also have some who are not there yet. So this is exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting, especially, considering wow, I mean, we've really only been doing this for a month and a half.
So, and before then I had, and I think I kid you not, 69 subs. So we picked up, I think it was 101 at some point yesterday, so 32. And the big difference from before, I mean, it's not like I got most of my subs before this in the 2 years I've been streaming or something, or not streaming, but making videos. I got most of my subs before this. What's different this time is that we're actually getting regular subscribers, every week, a few at least. And so that has made a big difference. And so the growth in this period of like a month and a half has been, if you consider the 70 that I'd gotten before was like over more than a year, and then getting half of that in 1/12 the time is, we're growing 6 times faster. So there you go. So I think. And the other thing about that is it's not just like the growing faster or the numbers, it's the fact that when I do make changes, I actually get regular enough signals, right? I can do things and see people subscribe as a result of it, which is like the difference between just like throwing up videos and being like, I don't know if people will watch it, but even if like a bunch of people watch it, I don't even know if I'm gonna get subs.
yeah, and that's hard when you feel like you're putting out all the work and you're like, no idea what the results are gonna be. So thank you, everybody, for watching and subscribing.
And if you're watching live, you can throw something in the chat. I will keep an eye on it and answer any questions.
Yay, very exciting. And so I will go ahead and get started with a communication tip. So I just got back from Utah. I was there for a few days visiting family. It was fantastic. It was the first time all of my siblings had been together in the same room in like 8 years, which is a little sad, but it was fantastic. The communication tip I have is kind of an interesting one. So in order to get out there, I took the train and then the bus and then got to the airport, and obviously was at the airport for quite a while. I had to get on because I was going to the South Terminal, I had to get on this little shuttle to get out there, and then our plane was late. There was a lot of waiting. And then on our way back, again, just like regular plane stuff. But one thing that I found that was very interesting is many of those places, right? I was on public transportation, and, people don't really talk to other people, whatever, when they're, out and about, unless it's necessary or it's somebody that they're with. But for some reason, people talk to me like multiple times in multiple different situations. And I was kind of wondering why that was, right? People just I guess felt it was okay. And I think one of the reasons is I've really worked on cultivating a persona of being approachable. And it's something that I guess I don't know how to turn off now or something, or I don't know. But, I see so many other people with kind of their headphones and they're on their phone, or they're just avoiding eye contact or having very closed off language. And I'm just staring at everybody because I think people are fascinating. And so there's this kind of sense of being approachable that if other people are comfortable with you, right, that's going to really have a lot of benefit in a lot of areas. If you're networking, if you're at, an event where there's so many people, how are they going to know to come up to you? And so my communication tip is even when you're not talking to people, think about kind of how you look. Are you closed off or are you open? Honestly, one of the times that someone talked to me, they were asking me if I was okay because are you okay? Are you feeling okay? Because I was just kind of zoning and half asleep and just la la la. And So I'm like, oh, that's not why I want to be noticed. I don't want to like, and so, things like that. So be aware of, the kind of, I don't want to say aura you exude. It's a little woo, but the idea of what you are putting out there and, how people are going to perceive you before they even talk to you.
So, I mean, speaking of airports, I remember a couple of actors talking about having taken a class where what the teacher would do is he would have a pair of them, or the assignment was to go in pairs or with a friend or whatever to a airport, and then just like do your thing, whatever comes naturally to you. Mm-hmm. And your friend would go up to strangers and ask them what kind of person they thought you were, so that you got an accurate bead on like, what your natural stock character would be.
I love that.
Which is interesting.
That is super cool.
Should we do that on a date sometime?
Oh my gosh, that sounds so awkward.
You just said it was cool.
I know, but also like cool for other people, not cool for me.
All right.
That's the thing. I love it when other people approach me.
Yeah.
Like, and I do sometimes approach other people, but that's harder. It is.
Yeah, it is. It is awkward that coming up to other people.
That would be kind of fun, though.
And strangely, like, I am probably a closed off person. I don't like large crowds, and so I probably do all of the things instinctively to shut my body language down. But I remember that I had one friend in high school, and later I guess we've been out of touch for a while. But I always had like the very clean cut Mormon-y look. Buttoned up, I like my button downs, at least after I was a missionary or whatever. I just got used to wearing them, so I don't wear t-shirts except on weekends or things like that. So I have like a very particular image. But my friend, is very, looks very Berkeley. I grew up in California, shorter, very brightly colored hair of different hues and lots of tattoos and things like that. And probably the other thing is I just enjoyed being around her so much. Probably my body language opened up a lot too, but one of the things we noticed is that people would talk to us in conversation just because I think we seemed to be having a really good time.
Yeah.
So much more than anyone would talk to us individually. Like, it's not like I think you're more so this way where people will come up and talk to just you. But like neither of us had that, but like together I think we're just an odd couple that like you didn't, because we looked so different from each other, and probably our body language and other things were so different from each other that like we could appeal to a broad spectrum of people, but also we look like we're having a lot of fun, open body language. So if you can find somebody like that, go get them and put them on your YouTube channel.
Right? That's a good idea. So, we should give her a call. Because, like, seriously, I love...
Oh, you're like that for me.
Oh, well.
Well, I'm more of, like, I'm just mooching off of the fact that you do that anyway, and I just, like, jump in frame.
Great! So, I love it. Hey, I'll bring everybody with me.
So yeah, that's a hard thing to work on.
It is a very hard thing.
That requires... probably, again, if you're not doing the airport exercise, like have someone video you or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or watch other people who actually just people watch for others that get talked to and see what they do, I guess.
And that's where a lot of my stuff has come from, in that like I used to be horrendously socially awkward and I didn't realize it. And I would also just be really uncomfortable in big like places with lots of people. Mm-hmm. And so I would find a place on the side and I would just watch. Like, I love people watching and thinking about, like, I wonder what their life is like. I wonder, like, who they are and how are they acting. And I don't think I was even consciously, like, how are they, carrying themselves? But with literally, like, decades of people watching, eventually you kind of start to imbibe some of that. And so... yeah, in all kinds of situations, right? When I'm on a bus, right, with so many different people from different walks of life, and yeah, I love to see how they interact or don't interact, right? It's fun. Yeah. So.
Well, and I would probably say maybe even the people watching itself is what is one of the things that makes you more open. because I get into a big crowd and I find it overwhelming, and even if it's people I like nominally know, like if it was a work party when I was working for a company, or a church party or other things where there's plenty of people like I at least know, I don't know who to talk to. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. Or like, finding a pause in someone else's conversation so I can gracefully step in. So like I think there's a certain level of comfort from like being in that space, but like instead of like hiding or what I default to, especially if I have kids, is just paying attention to my kids not breaking stuff, and then that takes up like
everything.
90%. Yeah, exactly, 90% at least of my attention.
Yeah.
And so that being able to sit in a crowded space and be open enough to be looking around and observing what's going on probably changes your body language and makes you look more like, oh, you're not talking to somebody, but you are engaging in a certain way just through observation. So maybe I could talk to this person.
Yeah. Also, I just thought of something. One of the ways to be super approachable that like it kind of weirds people out: smile in public. And I know that sounds ridiculous, like, who goes around like smiling? But I would say at least half of my interactions where someone talks to me is like, you look way too happy for this. And I'm like, I'm having a good day, And so like, again, it's a small thing, right? To just like smile and look happy. But one, it helps you feel a little bit happier. But two, also it makes that interaction easier. And so, you don't always have to talk to everybody, but if you're at a networking event or something like that, like, don't be creepy. Don't be like, hey, everybody. But, be happy, be approachable, look like you're enjoying yourself, as opposed to looking like you're sick or bored or tired or angry or something like that.
Nice. Or all three at the same time.
All of them.
All right. I just changed my business tip because I've got a good one related to that I can bookend that with, specifically for networking or other events. One easy way to be instantly more approachable, even without body language. So anyway, thank you for joining us. If you are just joining us, we are an 8 a.m. Central live stream. Subscribe. Hit notification bells if such bells appear. Like, share our video. Our goal is to create a online space here, community here, where entrepreneurs can join us early in the morning to get a view of not just the tips, but like the real life warts and all view of building your own company, and including stuff that we're not naturally good at. So trying to learn those skills that a lot of people suffer through in private, and then only when they've mastered it, come out and tell their story, right? A kind of sanitized version of the whole process. You get to see our ugly process. Update, just quick update before I dive into the YouTube strategy, or the YouTube development. We have run the ad funnels. Megs was running yesterday, so you did get several clicks from that. You've also been sharing that, and then it was like 20 or something like that. But again, nobody signing up, I think, except for the original test signups.
Okay.
And then LinkedIn, I think I'd gotten like 14 or something. And the only change I noticed with my new version from kind of just a more like, this is a mysterious content, to having a specific lead magnet. Here's a checklist for this subject. That I do like the cost per click for that 14 so far. It'll probably go up. But the cost per click was like 60 cents or something like that. I forget. But it was like half as much as it was before, but still like nobody's signing up through that. So, maybe I just can't write a landing page. I know there are people who are successful if there's a good enough offer for, just headline, subtitle, landing page, but it might be worth it for us to try and see if there's, do a picture of your pitch template or my checklist or something to make it more concrete for people to be worth signing up for email stuff. So there's probably a lot of research I will be doing in that area, and probably something I dive into more. We'll take a break and I'll have some scheduled but non-live videos between Christmas and New Year's. And we'll come back and kind of dive into maybe more of the science of landing pages, because it's a science, I'm sure.
It is.
Art probably. But
it's both.
Right. And, now that we're into it and doing it for ourselves, we have some specific offers for very specific target audiences. Another thing we'll consider is bringing on, more paid experts or a consultant, someone who will either advertise for us or help us with our advertising, that we can use to level up, because now we actually have tried out the process enough and have enough specific questions, or I have enough specific questions that I think I will learn a lot more from that activity than if I just gone into saying I want to get better at ads and lead magnet funnel stuff. I'm just gonna pay someone right off the bat. So. Yeah.
One great thing that's come out of all of, there's so many, it's such a good learning experience, but so this, one particular community that I belong to on Clubhouse, Global Kyokoku, which I love, and if you want to practice your Japanese, look it up. It's amazing, the Global Republic. But I have been in contact, obviously, with multiple people in there, and one of the women, she's basically the founder of everything. I've been kind of sending her my stuff just to see, would this be helpful? Because she's really great at business. And I, sent her the original chapter that I wrote, as well as the pared down template. And she's like, this is amazing. This is really good. We need to promote you in our main room. We should talk about your business at some point. And when it was originally begun, the community was very much kind of shying away from, promotion of any individual person. It was more about the giving, which is, I, completely understand. And I wasn't asking to be, shared in the main room, but that, that's a huge endorsement that I'll be able to get. So I told her, I was out of town for this last weekend, but maybe sometime this week would be really cool, and see if anything comes from that, because there's usually 300-ish people in the main room on any given day. And even if, not all of them are particularly interested, they might know somebody who is. But so, I'm going to put up that kind of ad or whatever that hopefully people will click through and get on my mailing list, and then be able to kind of cultivate that as more of a business person and less of a community person. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I love these people to death anyways, and so it's nice to be able to share with them what I'm doing.
Yeah, so I think one of the transformations for early on in your career, especially as an entrepreneur and a service-based entrepreneur, or a consultant or whatnot, is the one when you start, as we kind of mentioned last week, start limiting your time.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it looks more valuable. And so even when you're not asking for money, sometimes people offer to pay you so they can have some of your time, right? And that's hard when you don't have a lot of clients going initially. And then I think this other, here's another shift, right? In just, I have something specific to offer to a specific group of people with a specific problem, right? Instead of trying to solve everything, or just saying, I'm someone who does global communication. I have a business pitch template in English.
Yeah.
All right. For entrepreneurs, that, the difference between having that and saying I'm a business communication coach, I think is powerful, because then people know what to do for it. They can ask you for it or ask about it, or the more specific, the better.
Yeah. And I feel because I do a lot of different things, and I can serve a lot of different people. But again, because I haven't always been good at kind of honing in on my niche, people are like, oh, well, she does that, but is she actually going to be able to help me? Which one does she do better? And so I think that was a really interesting kind of okay, I got that.
Yep. Yeah, and that is the curse of people who have many talents and many interests. The hardest part of this process actually is figuring out who you, the specific business avatar that you are going to be, right? You have a kind of a user avatar, but as a business avatar, you want to be known for particular things. And while online you can create a funnel for one particular offer, in general, your business persona also can benefit greatly in all the interactions that you have by being known for the one thing.
Yeah.
And even I'm working on that. I know my mantra is the process beats strategy, right?
Yeah.
That is the thing. And I'm still looking at what's the killer offer for that, because it's kind of an or on the surface of it, it's an anti-offer kind of thing. Like people want the one strategy that's going to rocket them to success, even if they know actually there's a low likelihood of that. They'd rather have that than there is a process that eventually, if you keep repeating it, will inevitably lead to you becoming good enough to find success. You have to burn out a lot on these secret strategies before you're like, oh, okay, I'm willing to work a process. And learn.
And that's hard.
Yeah,
that's so hard.
It is. But my peeps are somewhere.
They're somewhere. We'll find them.
All right.
I'm your peep.
Well, and it's different takes on that. So the partnership thing, that the angle that I'm working on, I think is a part of that is what people feel acutely as oh, I want someone's help on this because I'm not enough alone. You can restructure that as you're having a hard time boiling this down to a simple, repeatable process. Let's help you. And then, there's also encouragement and insight and reflection and clarification and all those things that come with a second person too. But looking at the problem from different angles. So we'll see how that goes. But as promised, our YouTube journey before this video gets too long. Yeah, we're at about 20 minutes, no chat yet. The camera's kind of in the way, so it's yeah, all right. So I remember the first video I took, I was just thinking about being a coach and kind of mindset stuff. And I think the specific thing I just wanted to talk with somebody about, and so I videotaped it, was our sewer backed up in the laundry room. So the entire laundry room was covered with sewage, but sewage mixed with very strong smelling laundry soap. And to this day, sometimes when I smell, a generic brand of laundry soap, I also smell the sewage. So
I was out of town, wasn't I?
Yeah. All these things happen when you're out of town.
They always happen when I'm out of town.
So
I'm so sorry.
All right. Yeah, it's anyway. I'll try not to embarrass our kids too much, but there's other out of town excremental stories that I could tell. So in any case, and so I don't even remember all of the things I said, but just in terms of the stress of working and having kids and then dealing, I think I made some allusion in the title to when the stuff hits the fan. And so that was really kind of the self-expression mode. And I think a lot of people who start out YouTube just want to experiment and put a video out there and see what that's like. And so I did that early on, and that was sporadic, and that was the first phase. And of course, I didn't have anyone watching it. I wasn't promoting it regularly. I still probably don't have a ton of followers on social networks, and that's another thing that I could probably, build out my presence online, figure out, the process, right? The regular process by which maybe I engage a little bit here on Twitter, a little bit here on LinkedIn, probably focus on one of them, etc. But yeah, and those are barely self-contained, no views, and there's just sporadically as I had an idea. And then I got more interested in the idea of YouTube specifically. And so I think the next phase was I was posting regularly, but I was still not seeing a ton of views. It was kind of random. And in this phase, it was 5 to 8 or something like that per video. And the advice that I have gotten since then, and that kind of kept me going through that phase, was just that YouTube needs at least 30 videos to figure out who your audience is. And if you're not getting a lot of views on those videos, probably longer, right? And so it needs a certain body of not only videos, but people watching those videos to be able to know who to recommend you to. So that, and the one of the ways to get through that is to invite all of your personal social networks to your channel, and that'll get people watching your videos. But there's kind of a hit and miss with that, right? So like you with your Global Republic actually have a lot of people in your specific network, in your audience, that when you drive it to your videos, it's relevant to them.
Yeah.
Whereas like my friends and family it's like the professional class that is very risk averse and not entrepreneurs. And so like I just don't have strong networks in that
hard, yeah.
world. And so it was hard for this to get picked up. The first video that I did get picked up, and by far I think still my most popular just in terms of sheer views, although not always week to week, it's on a lot of weeks, is our reflective listening exercise.
It was such a good one too. And I think that's because it really does apply to everybody. So, and it was one of your first ones with me. So,
yep.
You know.
I think it was the first one, right?
Was it? I don't know.
So that was the first one with Meg, because I needed someone to listen to, right? It required that. The idea for that specifically came just because I'd done corporate communications training, and we'd done a few workshops, actually even with couples communication. A lot of this came out from being like a crisis counselor as well as an English major and instructional psych. There's a lot of communication stuff that I've learned over the years that I kind of packaged into various courses, particularly around conflict or listening. And now with clients, I also work a little bit more on just negotiation and persuasion in terms of like best practices. So that was a natural thing that came out of my past experience. And as far as I could tell, the reason that was picked up, it's not just like that the subject was interesting and YouTube loved it. Some like Eastern European site shared a link to it that like they actually had traffic. So they drove a lot of traffic to it, and YouTube, especially when a lot of traffic comes to your site from somewhere, somewhere else, they'll say like, oh, this is popular, this brings people to the site. I want to share this more because it attracts people. Because YouTube algorithms are really not, designed to promote you as a content creator. They're designed to bring people and keep people on YouTube. And if you happen to do that effectively, they will promote you. But like, remember, like their job is not to make you successful.
Yeah.
So if you don't do that, right, they'll be recommending other videos. And so creators kind of have this love-hate relationship with the YouTube algorithm, right? Because I mean, you want to think like, oh, it's optimized for sharing my videos. No, not really. Like, unless your videos happen to have this effect. Yeah. So that is a thing. If you have people that can post your video, I don't know if they were in my core audience, but there was at least enough of an overlap. However, having a big video like that, or a relatively big video, becomes a branching point.
Yeah.
Because I could, like, that was very popular. I wasn't, and I wouldn't know how to necessarily like chase an Eastern European demographic, speak to that, but I could have leaned hard into communication, and I had to decide, do I want to become a communication person? And I have done that training, or did I want to still focus on helping people grow small businesses and startups? And I have a particular passion for small businesses. I think a lot of the ills we talk about economically with our country, that country being the US for me, is that we have way too many monopolies, like a very few companies controlling large swaths of the market in many, many markets. And one side effect of that is we talk about, income and wealth gaps. That's going to be a lot larger in a big company than a small company, right? If you have a economy that consists of a lot more smaller companies, then you're going to have a smaller gap between the rank and file worker at that company and the CEO, as well as they are more recession proof, for example, so that all the big companies fire at the same time, and you already saw this fall.
All the layoffs,
right? Same exact time. Whereas if you have like a diverse set of small companies, just because they're at different phases in their growth, a variety of different industries and like different locations, right? They are they're not all going to be shutting down at the exact same time, the same way a big company will just do the big layoffs. And so that is, another reason. And it's also a great place for people to get their start. Like big companies like Google can really interview for the cream of the crop, and you're not really going to start out, for instance, I was a web developer. You're not going to start out your web developer career at Google very typically, unless you go to like MIT and get an internship right there. So the way I got my start was at smaller companies, and they have their own faults and idiosyncrasies, but
and that's what you're trying to help.
Right, exactly. But so this is like a cause I specifically believe in a lot. And so I wasn't willing to just dive into like, I will be a guru person, or I will be the dude that listens to women. That could have been my shtick.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so when you have something that's successful, first off, like it's not that I don't do communication, right? But is that what I wanted to niche down to? Yeah. And I realized it wasn't, and so that was hard because I kind of had to go back to like, all right, I'm producing a random video, and we'll see who we'll see who shows up and whether I get subs, etc. And felt kind of random. This went on for a while, and then there's a short period, even just a few months ago, where I was trying to do 3 to 5 videos a week.
You're doing a lot, yeah.
And I tried to do like 5 for like a week or 2, and I'm like, I can't do this. Awesome. And then I went back to 3, which was much more manageable. But all of them were a lot of work because I had to plan out what topic I was going to talk about. Then I had to shoot the video. I had to do multiple takes, and then you had to edit them. And so it was just this huge drain, and really hard to move forward. And plus, I was kind of disenchanted with the idea of kind of the topic or just subject matter, like kind of, I didn't quite rise to the level of video essays or whatever, but that talking about a topic, a YouTube, that's what a lot of big people do. They'll pick a topic and they'll talk about it, in theory. But that only really works if you have a big audience. It's not very attractive to hear someone you never heard of talk about theories. This is where I was introduced to Alex Hormozi and really, started falling in love with his content, where he went to a crowd of YouTubers and he's like, stop, talking about what other people do and talk about what you're doing. Yeah. And that's what's authentic. And he called out a bunch of the audience, like, no, like, people laughed at that. Like, no, like, probably a bunch of you do this. Yeah. Stop it. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And so that was one of the things where I started to try to show people, like, this is how I, some of my frameworks for doing X, Y, Z or thinking about this. But it still felt very theoretical. And then eventually I put it down for a while because I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. So there was, I think, a month, or like the month of October, I didn't produce anything. And you were the person that recommended taking our morning check-in and doing it as a live stream. And from there, I kind of elaborated that because this is not the format of our morning check-in.
No, it is not.
To not give each other a business tip or a communication tip.
Well, and this is so much better, I think, because our check-in was more, it was just a check-in, right? Whereas this is like actual coaching. And
well,
yes and no.
Parts of it.
That's true.
Sometimes,
that's true.
Occasionally.
Sometimes it's just us chatting.
A lot of it is just sharing time.
Yeah.
I would be doing a lot more listening, a lot more question asking if I were purely coaching.
Yeah. And that's, but I think part of it is, it's really helped me a lot as we do these kinds of talks, because like one of the things that I miss about being part of a team, being part of a company or whatever, is that collaborative thing where you are kind of bouncing ideas off of people. You get to talk and see what new things come up. But when you're a solopreneur, it's just kind of yourself in your brain. And I get way too much of that. every day, all day. So it's nice to be able to have someone external to talk with about these things. But I think also, it's just because you'd had so much success with that one with us, my initial reasoning for wanting to suggest this, it was a few-fold. One was, to help drive traffic to your channel.
Yay!
One was to show people what you do, because again, it's one thing to say I'm a coach. It's another one to show people aspects of that and what that looks like. And then another one was purely selfish, was to get myself out there so everybody could see my beautiful face. No, but just to get kind of my message out there in a way that was more authentic, because you've talked about removing those barriers. I cannot count the number of videos I have taken that end up just being raw files on my computer. I never edit them. I never upload them. It's great content, but it's so hard. Whereas this, again, it's easy because we're talking, we do it every day. We make mistakes, but it's okay because it's live. We can't do anything about it. So
that one thing makes such a huge difference.
It really does.
That and the talking with someone, and that's why the long form podcasts are so huge these days, because that is you can have this long form content, and YouTube loves long form content, right? If someone's watching your video for an hour, then they're going to, that keeps you on the YouTube platform for longer, so they will recommend that to more people. So that was another piece of advice going to a YouTube conference, which is do long form content. So yeah, those two things have been very successful for a lot of people, and it just so happens that we live together, so that makes it very easy for us to be live every morning. We don't have to step into the office, just the home office, right?
Yeah, we send our kids off to school, although right now they're just in the other room because Christmas break.
Running amok.
Yeah.
So, so that changed things. It helped be authentic. And the question specifically that prompted that, I remember the conversation, was I was talking about the power of coaching and how it's a hard thing to show, because there's a lot of people, and it's not that I hate courses, but I hate how overused courses are, how badly used, and how misrepresented they are. And this is one of the things I learned in my Master's of Instructional Psychology and Technology, very fancy sounding degree, which really instilled actually an appreciation of the basics and a lot of basic things that people are missing. But one of the studies in that came out that it was about teaching in a classroom versus a private tutor. And it was specifically involving mastery learning, which is just you repeat a subject until you've mastered it, and then you move on to the next subject, versus our typical way of teaching in the school system, where you take a unit, you pass or fail the test, and the class moves on to the next subject, right? Regardless.
Yeah.
But they even compared, it wasn't just that this method of teaching was better, which is very similar to coaching in nature, where it's I don't decide that I'm tired of teaching you about communication or marketing yet, and so I'm just whatever, I'm tired of this, we'll move on to the next subject, right? And because it's one-on-one, right, I'm not being well, Johnny over here or Linda over here has aced this, so I'm just going to move on, and sucks to you, right? It's one-on-one, so it goes at your pace. It just naturally is mastery learning. But they weren't necessarily even proving the superiority of mastery learning. They were showing, they showed that even when a teacher uses mastery learning and a tutor uses mastery learning, the tutored kids do better than 95% of kids in a classroom. And I don't think that a tutor is any more trained than a teacher. If they're including tutors like I was in high school, I was another student. I wasn't even a trained teacher, right? But it's that one-on-one personal feedback and interaction. The not just that you occasionally get to raise your hand and ask a question, but that you get to ask all of your questions and have someone give you feedback. And that regular one-on-one interaction was more powerful than classroom interaction. And then when you take that out, these are in simple subjects where you're, especially in, younger grades in high school or whatever, there's English or whatever where you have to come up with an original thesis. But a lot of the times these are simple problems of known like known formulas, known facts. They're nowhere near as complex as business. And what people have these days in businesses are a bunch of courses, often designed by people who are not instructional experts, by the way, and promising, the magic bullet, the formula for this thing. And there's no interaction, no accountability, none of that stuff you get in the classroom, let alone what you have with one-on-one coaching. And so people are missing out on that. And that's one of the reasons why it's like, if I wanted to, especially with instructional psychology and technology, I could either, build my own course and just, offer it for cheap for a few people, get a few testimonials for like the 1% of people that it works for, which is like what most of the tutorials you see for courses are not representative. They're the top 1%, right? And then, jack up the price and, create an ad funnel for it. And people would want to buy that more than coaching.
So but it's true. I
right?
mean...
And it's just like, I could do that. I just know that doesn't work. That doesn't actually fundamentally transform students the way that one-on-one coaching and tutoring would. And so I was in our morning check-in, I was talking about like how unfortunate it is that like coaching, because it's not this like, you can't package it in a magic bullet formula. Like the best thing about coaching is that it's unique to you, and not that I can take somebody else's goal or some standardized goal and like jam everybody into that mold, which doesn't work anyway, because those courses don't work for most people. Most people don't even finish the course statistically, and then even fewer actually get results from what they try. So it's not that jamming people into a mold, it's someone listening to you, helping you define who you are and figuring out like, all right, what are the next steps? And they keep you working the process. It's not like, it's a process that generates strategic insights, and that's one of the reasons why process beats strategy. Yay! So there's no amount of strategizing that will actually develop a process, because a process is something you do. There's no amount of thinking that will actually create, a workable experience of, at some point you have to like leave strategy and create a process. But like the right process with a reflection at the right times can generate strategic insights and create a strategy over time. So anyway, I wanted to bring that to people, and I'm like, I don't know how to show that. And Meg was just like, well, why don't we videotape our sessions? And so they're a little bit of amalgam, right? We have our business tips, which are helpful, because then one of the things that I do coming back to YouTube, one of the things that I do are chopping out the business and communication tips and then optimizing their titles. And a trick for that, for YouTubers, right, is that you don't optimize for what people are searching for. The majority of people are going to find your content because it's recommended. And so what I go is I search for something, and then I find titles of content that is in the similar vein. I try and be honest. It's something like, I think there was one video that was like the one surprising tip to more effective communication or something like that, or more confidence when you communicate. And I titled my video "One Unsurprising Tip for More Confidence When You Communicate and Its Practice."
I love that.
So like, I try and be honest, right? But it's similar enough that it comes up. And, I mean, even then, like, it kind of runs counter to, like, wait, unsurprising tip? What's the unsurprising tip? Is it this?
It's like anti-clickbait. But in being anti, it actually gets more clicks.
Yeah, it does create a mystery of its own. Like, wait, what's the unsurprising thing? Am I missing something obvious, right? So there's that, like, I think one of the biggest performing, and it's not, like, hugely performing, videos that we've gotten from our tips is the how to be authentic or something. I again forget the specific title. I just picked something that was popular, and it was kind of a generic title, so I went along with that, and that has a whole 25 views. But like 25 views, I don't even really advertise these clips, and I probably should just have a schedule for like occasionally posting them to Twitter throughout the day or something like that. Not that I have a huge Twitter following either. So I really rely mostly on YouTube recommendations, and so like just the fact that okay, random video gets 25 views, and that's how I'm getting regular subscribers. So we went through a week without getting a ton, because these videos are kind of up and down. But it'd been several days since we'd gotten a subscriber, and I'm like, all right, I have a bunch of these videos. So I released like 8 videos that got like, I don't know, 50 views as of yesterday or some point yesterday. A handful of views, right? But that got us from 98 to 101 subscribers, right? And so what we have now is a more repeatable process. So we have like a core offering, and we don't have any viewers in this stream, for example, but occasionally we have some who like this offering. But this content that we do also can generate these little clips that then bring people into the main channel, and slowly but surely we get more subscribers. So that's currently where we are. And I think the last thing I'll say is it just helps to be driving towards something, right? Now I have a vision, which is I want to create a community of entrepreneurs here that are that can, check in and hopefully, chat. Probably the most fun, although like I want to grow this as big as possible. Like I imagine the most fun it'll ever, or some of the most fun will be like even just like 10 or so people chatting, because then like it won't be a super fast feed of people scrolling by. So like the first 10 people I think will really have a blast when we get regular watchers. But anyway, but I have a goal of like creating that community. I have a goal of showing people the power of process, and coaching is a part of that. Coaching is a subset of that. But so I know what this channel is about. And as I talk about when I'm being authentic, I know what it's not, which is me trying to be an expert in everything. So I'm showing like I'm having a hard time with this. I'm not a marketer. It's not my expertise. But that is going to make it even more sweet when I can show my entire progress on this channel from like, I can write an ad that gets people to click on it, but nobody signs up on my landing page, right? And then I can show my landing page works. I got a client, right? And so that'll be exciting to show you the milestones, and so that you can. And I'll probably try and splice it together, or splice some kind of montage, like how I got my first client from an online funnel.
I love
it. So as opposed to like, referrals and all of those other sources. So this has been a longer video, but for channels that are smaller, you're still trying to get to 100, it is a slog. It's probably, longer and longer. You pick up, when eventually you start picking up steam, you start picking up steam faster. For me, that's still a few people a week, not a ton.
But that's still something, right?
But it's regular people every week.
Yeah, and it's that regularness, that's not a word, but
regularity.
That's the word.
Is it?
I don't know. But it's that you can start to see the effects of what you're doing, and it helps give you some of that motivation that's hard when you don't have regular, whatever it is, feedback.
I too can share the crypto bros excitement. Number goes up.
What?
That's the thing. Like number goes up. Like so, like crypto, right?
I don't know anything about crypto.
Cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of just like meme coins and stuff that aren't worth anything.
Oh.
And so that's kind of a joke or a criticism of the crypto bros or whatever, that like they don't actually care that there's no basis for their currency. It's just number goes up.
Yay! Number goes up.
Right. It's just gambling. So anyway, but yeah, there's that aspect to it. And if for those subscribers who have, or those YouTubers who have 5,000 subscribers, tell me how you do it. I'd love to hear your feedback. That's fun. Put your questions, like, subscribe, comment on the videos. I'm available, a human face to help you with all the craziness in business. And Meg also, I assume, would love to answer questions too.
Of course, yeah. So, anything about how to communicate more effectively, how to have more confidence while you communicate, and really, I think just how to start those conversations, I think, is one of the hardest things. So.
Yep. Starting and showing up consistently, the hardest things in life.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Well, until tomorrow, make big changes, one small habit at a time.